Everybody, thanks for watching and thanks for taking the time to support and purchase, and welcome to God's Son. Definitely a DVD I wanted to put out for a while, really getting into the Son and its relationship to us and a lot more, because there's a lot of stuff people don't really get that the Son do. And we look at religion and the fact that Jesus is the Son, God is the Son. It's a lot more that entails when you dig deeper, and when you're trying to explain that to a person. It's a lot of mainstream things that's trying to piggyback on that whole, winter solstice thing and all that. And a lot of people don't take it seriously. This is the deeper information that is really going to get people to look at stuff differently when you understand. And if you can explain what I'm going to explain in this video to people and show it, then I think it's going to go a long way towards helping them really understand about the relationship between, the Son as God and us as God and everything that entails. So let's get into it. So now understand, there is no significance to the trillions of lives on this planet. There's no significance to our lives in the belief of Jesus Christ, in the belief of God. That is no significance to us, belief or faith. So belief and faith does not determine, whether we're going to live or die, plain and simple. You can believe in a book, you can believe in words, you can believe in whatever God that you want. Those beliefs, those religions, those faiths does not directly, affect our lives here. It has no real significance to us being alive on this planet. Now, the Son does. The existence of the Son does. The Son, in fact, as we know, is the reason why we can exist, the reason why life begins on this planet, the reason how life is created on this planet. We have to understand the true significance of the Sun and the role that it plays on this planet and throughout, our solar system. It is very amazing when you begin to understand it. So we can go and look at it, on a plant life level. We understand photosynthesis. We understand how plants absorb the energy from the sun, and how, the chlorophyll in its leaves converts that energy into food for the plant, basically sugar. So you have basically chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. They absorb photons and basically transfer that energy to the photosynthetic reaction center at basically a wavelength of 500 to 600 nanometers. So we know that it's basically on the color spectrum of green. So that's how we get, green plants. We can get into a whole thing with Osiris and the sun and all that, but we're going to do that in this video. But we understand that, without photosynthesis, without this process, we won't have healthy plants. We won't have food. We won't have vegetation or what have you. So this process is significant, and it deals with the sun. So when you have this process, you have the chlorophyll molecules, they become excited and they basically eject electrons. I talked about this in the human energy video on YouTube. So when you have an ejection of electrons, you have the surface is going to become, or the chlorophyll will basically become positively charged. So in order for it to now absorb photons again, it has to basically go back to normal. So it's going to need electrons to do that. So this is why you water plants, because that's where it's going to get its electrons from. So when you water plants, you basically have the H and the O separate. The hydrogen and the oxygen atoms separate. Now you have the oxygen atoms, when they come together, two oxygen atoms come together, they're going to basically give us, a oxygen molecule, and the plant will basically hold that and release it when it wants to. This is how we get our oxygen or what have you. But again, this process, it's the sun. It's life itself. We know that if this does not happen, we're not going to get our plants, our vegetables, our animals will not eat. They won't have, the food. So, it's a chain reaction of events beginning with the sun. So when the plants get its sun, we get our vegetables, the animals get its food, we get our food, so on and so forth. This is a powerful, thing that happens in nature, and it's normal, and it's significant to the life of everything on this planet, and we need it. You don't need a book. You don't need a belief or faith. This is not going to get you what you need to have existence on this planet. And this is what we have to think about. So when you go biblically into the book and you look at everything the book's talking about, it's not really giving you it's giving it to you, but in secret, as we know. It's not really giving you the true significance of the sun itself on human life, something that you cannot ignore. But when you understand the metaphor, we understand what it's talking about, which is Jesus. Now we understand the cycles that our sun takes place in. I mean, everything takes care of itself. We call it nature. It's intelligence to the whole thing when you understand. So even when we look at the watering of plants, we understand with the sun, you have the rain cycle with the sun making it so hot. You have water vapor, and the vapor creates condensation, which creates rain clouds eventually, and we get rain, which that rain will, of course, give the plants the electrons that they lose from the chlorophyll or what have you, having their explosion of electrons. They get their electrons back, and then you have the process, so on and so forth, of the plants having a sustained life because of water, us having a sustained life because of water, animals or what have you, and it's a cycle that works. It's just an intelligence to the whole thing that you really have to understand, and it's amazing because it's all because of the sun. This is something that is important to understand when you begin to look at the reason why the ancients really revere the sun and why we see so much so-called sun worship in the ancient world, because this was huge. The crazy thing is they understood this. They understood all of this, even on a molecular level. How, of course, we do not know. But it's amazing that they knew it and that they wrote about it and, talked about it, and they understood the process and many other processes that the sun takes place in. So now we also understand about us as humans. We absorb the sun. We create vitamin D because of the sun. Vitamin D is needed for calcium. It helps develop strong bones. So the more exposure you have to the sun, the more vitamin D is created. This is why you see a lot of people with suntan, because if you let the sun be absorbed through your back, you get more creation of vitamin D because of that. Now, when you guys go and study this, you'll see them talk about how fair-skinned people, they absorb or create vitamin D faster than dark-skinned people. And that's for them to basically put out there that we don't want, fair-skinned people or, white people absorbing the sun as long as black people can, because they will, of course, get skin cancer and melanoma. We won't have that problem. We can get burned, but we can't get no skin cancers and the stuff they be getting because of the sun. So now, people, here's the big question you have to ask yourself. We look at the process and we understand, one, you have the sun that's given life to the plants. Because the plants have this life because of the sun, animals are able to basically eat, survive, live, or what have you. We know we get our energy from our food. We know we eat these plants. We have the same process to where we get energy from this food. If we don't eat, we will die. We will literally starve to death. If we don't drink, we will die. We will literally basically die of dehydration. This is something you got to look at. What's keeping us alive? The sun, right? So now, question is, if we are infinite beings, if we have a soul, an immortal soul with infinite energy, why is it that we cannot simply sustain ourselves with our own energy? Think about that. We need the sun. If we don't eat and absorb that sun's energy, we can't sustain this human form and we'll die. But we have this infinite energy that we know exists inside of us that we call a soul, that has unlimited energy that we should be able to tap into and heal ourselves with our own energy. Why is that not possible? Now, I've got this question before from a lot of smart people who figured it out. And, basically I hint on it in a few videos if you really understand what I'm saying. But what you got to understand, and to answer the questions, you have to understand that it's because we have to rely on the sun because of our symbiotic relationship to the material. We are indeed spiritual beings, but we have a symbiotic relationship with the material world. Plain and simple. We need each other to exist. So just like we can't exist without this energy from the sun, our human bodies can't exist without us. So you have that one, the material us needs the spiritual us in order to exist, and we need what? The material in order to exist here. So if we want to exist in the physical world as spiritual beings, we need physical flesh. In order to sustain physical flesh, it needs energy to be animated. So if we want this body to be animated, we need this energy. Now, you also have to understand that, when you are eating and converting this energy into more energy, it's almost like the recharging of the energy that you have. You're recharging it because we don't have that direct contact to the sun, or at least we forget how to directly charge this energy. So we have almost like a, portable battery, basically within us, to where we can charge it for a certain amount of time and basically have energy, that we need. So if you have the right energy within you, then you can go ahead and use that energy to go ahead and keep you energized. So this goes to a lot of stuff, especially food. When you think about if you go out and you eat, junk food all the time, and that's the energy that you are now about to convert into energy for your physical self. So if you're constantly eating junk food and everything, you're going to gain weight, and you're going to wake up in the morning, you're going to have, indigestion or heartburn or what have you, depending on the health that you are in, at the moment. But if you're not in good health, what's going to eventually happen? You're going to be converting bad energy, plain and simple. So you're going to wake up and you're not going to feel as refreshed as a person who ate a salad, all that, who ate light meat, who didn't, gorge on junk food or what have you. They're going to wake up with more cleaner energy. They're going to be more energized. You're going to wake up over time with bad energy. So this is negative energy you're absorbing into yourself, and there's a lot that go with that. So you have to look at that, understand that relationship of, good, clean energy versus bad energy, so on and so forth. But it's due to the symbiotic relationship that we have with the material as spiritual beings that we need each other to exist. So we don't have full access of our power, as I talk about, with the subconscious basically locking away, everything that we need to be, complete one. So because of this, and we're going to get into this a little bit later, it's going to make a lot more sense. Trust me. Because of this, we have this semi-relationship with the sun that's going to make a lot more sense as we go along. But it's because of this symbiotic relationship that we have with material that we need the sun to basically give us the energy to help us stay on the physical plane. And in turn, the material can survive, it can live, it can go on and complete its agenda. So there's an intelligence in all of this that you're going to begin to see as we go along. And it's amazing. So really, it's all part of the dualistic nature that makes up us. And it's one of the reasons why I say that material cannot be evil, because you have to understand the sun is God, plain and simple. It's God. If the sun is God, then it's capable of both good and evil, which we get from the sun, the creation of the material and the spiritual. It's dualistic in a sense biblically. If you want to look at Satan as the material, as we talk about, God is the spiritual, as we talk about. But you have to understand, they can't both be evil. They can't both be good. There's a dualistic nature. So material is a must. We must master material. That's one of the purposes of us being here, to master material, to understand it, to not succumb to it, to not be ruled by it, but to master it, plain and simple, to basically have complete control over the material, which would be you. If you can't master yourself, your flesh, then you can't master nothing. The spiritual will not be accessible to you because you are bound by the material. So there is a yin yang, of course, a balance, as I talk about, that must be had. And people are not really talking about this because they don't really understand. But the significance of it goes back to the sun. And we got to understand how it plays a role in every facet of what we do and so many things. Plain and simple. It's the reason why the sun is revered. The sun is basically worshipped and deified, of course, because it exists in so many different facets of our day-to-day, of our life, of our existence, and it's going to be responsible for whether or not we transform, whether we basically open the third eye, become one, and have balance. The sun is a huge part in all of that when you really understand. So the sun is basically the God over us, over the physical. Plain and simple. We have this God that reigns over the physical world, over us, us being in this materialistic realm. It is not the God of all. That would be consciousness itself. Consciousness would be the God of all, plain and simple, because you have to look at the sun as us. The sun has a dualistic nature. The sun is material and energy, of course, like us. You have the sun being 75% hydrogen and 25% helium, and you have a small composition of various metals that makes up basically the mass of the sun. Small when you compare it, but compared to the earth, it's huge. So you have all these metals, material. You have the energy of the sun, the spiritual, what have you. So we are basically, you can put God in the material, which is why they anthropomorphize, or how they deify him and make him beings like Ra or what have you, because they looked at him as just like us, having a composition of energy and material. So this is why you can make God as a man, the sun as a man, or what have you, or God as Jesus, or so on and so forth, why they put him in that aspect as a being, because just like the sun, we are energy and material. So when we die, we have rebirth. When you understand the process, as I talk about, when we pass as this material, spiritual being, there is a going away of the material. And if you are not, completely balanced, you come back. You have rebirth into this physical realm. Now, when the sun goes supernova, the process starts over again. The sun recreates itself. This is the whole, metaphor with the phoenix rising from the ashes, what have you. You have a supernova, and you have the sun basically reform itself. If the reaction from the supernova is unique, if it's done in a correct way, it can form planets, as I talked about. So this is something that, you have processes. And then don't get me wrong, when you look at a supernova, when you look at suns itself, not all suns go through that process. There's so many things that have to take place with the sun. You can have a sun basically use all its nuclear fuel and to basically become a collapsed star, what have you. And you have dwarf stars, and you have suns that basically, burn out, you might as well say. And, you have suns that expand into giant stars, as they call them, gas giants, or red giants, and they become huge, and they compress, and they compact and come back out, and eventually they explode. So it's a lot. It's a process of life and death with the sun, just like it is with us, except for the sun lives longer than we do, if you look at it in that sense of being in one form for a long period of time, where we change forms many different times from incarnation to incarnation, if you are a being that keeps coming back here. So it's a lot to look at on a spiritual level, that you have to really go back and look at the ancients and how they talked about it to appreciate it. It's something that you can't really fathom today because it's not really clearly understood, but it's going to make a lot more sense in this video. So as I talked about before, we know we have consciousness creating energy. Consciousness being this all-knowing, powerful thing that we really don't truly understand when you think about it. But as we know, you have a thought occurs first, as I talk about, then energy. That energy allows the physical to move. Basically the same process as the sun basically being absorbed by the chlorophyll in the plants, and that energy is converted into food for the plant to be able to survive and move. We eat it, we're able to move, so on and so forth. So you have, stemming from consciousness, energy, movement, life itself. Now, the sun is responsible for all life on this planet, plain and simple. And the thing is this, our true self outside of this planet would be what? Consciousness and energy. With energy, coming from consciousness, as we know. So it will be we will be this conscious, energetic being. And you have to really understand that and think about that. Consciousness, and consciousness being an intelligence when you really get into it, which is why they use these words, and it's going to make sense in a second. So once consciousness and energy enters the body, it becomes subservient to the physical, plain and simple. It comes basically under the physical, because now this is the physical world that it's dealing with. Understanding that energy and consciousness is stronger than the physical, of course, because it's what's created, but it is basically bound by the material, by the body. And this is why. The thing is, you have the brain. The brain can be programmed, plain and simple. So the brain can be programmed in such a way that causes the consciousness to be out of the control of the subconscious and subservient, serving the programming instead of serving the subconscious. So in other words, if you brainwash somebody or program a person to go do something, I heard about the Manchurian Candidate and everything like that. You can program a person to, despite their free will and conscious thoughts or the powerful subconscious, the programming takes over and a person goes and acts out the programming without the intervening of the subconscious, which is supposed to be the rational part. So programming is crazy. So you have that physical programming that can take place that can basically control, the entire body. So the brain is a computer. It can be programmed, plain and simple. And this is how we understand, how we know that human life is different. It's special from all other life on this planet. And the main reason is because of our consciousness. But we can be programmed. And everything has been programmed, when you really understand, to seemingly do something on this planet specific to its species or what have you, vis-a-vis the way we act on this planet. Plain and simple. If you look at every other life on this planet, they have a role. It's a role, a symbiotic role when you really pay attention, that they all go about. We know about ants and how they build the mounds and everything that they do. We know about lions and how they run in prides and everything. Wildebeest and buffalo, how they act. Bees in a beehive. Everybody seems to have this programmed role that they do and how they exist on this planet. Plain and simple. But you have us, who can be programmed to do something different each and every time, to act outside of the normal role of us. Now, if you take the consciousness of the other beings, it seems as if they're stuck in a paradigm of their actions. Basically, monkeys are monkeys. That's what they do. That's what they do. They monkeys. They do what monkeys do. You take the consciousness, or just take the understanding. If you ever drove the country, you ever took a long ride, through any farms or what have you, you going to hit a shit ton of bugs. You have bugs stuck to your car window, all over your car. And it's like, why don't the bugs understand or have the consciousness to understand to get out the way? The bugs think they can fly through the car. They see it's a glass. They can look through the car right out the back window. And yet they drive straight into the window. At night, they're attracted to the light. That's one thing. But during the daytime, this happens as well. And it's like, you would think by now, the decades, hundreds of years, however long cars been out, that they would have figured this shit out by now. Like, yo, why are you driving, flying straight down the road? You're going to get smacked by a car. But no, they haven't. This is part of the cycle. You would think their psyche would adapt to the process and understand to fly over the cars or fly at a certain height or to avoid the cars altogether. But they don't. It's the same thing when you look at buffalo. If you look at a lot of these nature videos when the buffaloes are attacked and killed by lions, it's like, dude, why are you going there? You see the lions be right there, and they can see them. They be in their little tribes and everything, their little squad, and they look over and they be trying to eat and drink and look at the lions, and it's like, they're coming. Why come there? Why not come up with a different plan? It's because they don't have that psyche, that consciousness, the way humans do. And this is why, we're higher and above all the animals or what have you, because of consciousness, not because of physical, attributes, because, you can't beat a lion, but you can outsmart one. And the thing is, they cannot do it. They cannot change. Now, this is how we are different and how we know the programming is special and our consciousness is unique on this earth. Because basically, if we wanted to, and I don't know nobody that's going to want to do this, but some people have, we could live like any other surface animal on this planet if we wanted to. If we wanted to go live out with the monkeys and the gorillas out in the forest, act like them, eat what they eat, do what they do, we can go do that. We want to go chill with a pride, stay with some lions, eat like they eat raw meat, hunt like they hunt. We can do that. But they can't do what we do. They can't have consciousness like we have. They can't come together and say, you know what, I'm going to open a water ice stand down on 101st. I'm going to, open a corporate office and go to law school or something like that. They can't do that. They can't have the consciousness that we have. We can do what we want. Our consciousness is different. So the point of this is to get you into the understanding of how unique we are. I don't want nobody to go back and think the sun is responsible and, it's the main power and God of all. I don't want you to come away with that understanding. It's for you to understand consciousness is the true God. Consciousness is everything. It's over the sun. Consciousness put the sun here. So understanding in that aspect of we all have to basically need the sun to exist. But more than that, consciousness is over that physical energy that we get from the sun itself, that physical, that power we get. There's still consciousness which created the power in the first place. So there's something more unique to it, consciousness, than the energy in the sun. But as we look in this physical world, we know we are basically regulated and basically need the sun for all of us to exist and stay here on this planet. So now, what if our energy was just as powerful as the sun? What if consciousness created the sun to be sort of a battery for our energy as we exist on this physical level? And that meditation is a way for us to tap into that energy and recharge ourselves. Now we understand all the recharging capabilities that the yogis and the Buddhists talk about with meditation, that when you meditate, you're basically mimicking the dream world, where, as we know, when you go to sleep, it's when your body recharges and heals itself. And that if you meditate, and once you master meditation, in meditation, you can recharge your body and heal yourself just as you would when you go to sleep. And this is a fact that we all know. You go to bed super tired, you feel like you have no energy left. You wake up fully energized. You don't plug yourself into a wall, as I talk about. This is a process that takes place normally. You have this energy that basically, rejuvenates you and makes you ready to go. So you have to look at that process and think about it. As we know, we're getting this energy from the sun, and that we also have this energy within us. So this is the thing. And a lot of people are not going to be able to grasp it until I really break it down and explain, as I'm about to. You have heart energy. I talked about this before. I don't think people understand how deep this goes and the connection that it has. Your heart, our hearts, is connected with the sun itself. Our hearts have electromagnetic field. Just like the sun has an electromagnetic field, the earth has an electromagnetic field. There is a relationship between the three. There is a connection that we have to understand exists. So we have been told, we have been talking about, we are gods. Talked about this many times. The ancient Egyptians. Everybody who is conscious understands that we are gods. God is in us. Talked about how when you spell sun backwards, it's in us. A sun in us. So if we are God and the sun is God, then we have to have a sun as well. And we do have a sun within us. It's our heart. Plain and simple. Make a lot of sense in a second. We have a sun in us. It's our heart. Our heart is directly connected to the sun. So now the two most important organs in the body, we know, the brain, the heart. Plain and simple. So now we have seen how the brain is a computer, as I just talked about. The brain is a computer that can be programmed. It's a computer. What about the heart? When you look at it on the terms of computers. Now we know that without the brain, they would have never came up with the idea or really understood how to make a computer. It's modeled after the human brain. But you have to look at the heart. Plain and simple, and understand the connection. So you have to understand, one, that if it wasn't for the heart and the connection that it has with the sun, they would have never came up with the idea of Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Because it's basically how our connections sort of work with the sun. Our hearts, of course, have a wireless connection, with the sun. Now, if you've seen the videos on energy and frequency, this is going to make a lot more sense to you. You're going to understand, because we're going to get into the number 9 a lot. You're going to understand about how much it plays a significant role in everything, as we talked about in those videos. So now it says here, the human heart rate of 4,320 beats, that gives you 9 when you add them up. 3 and 2 is 5 plus 4 is 9. Beats per hour cannot fully be explained by the sinking sun because sound waves don't propagate through the vacuum of space. However, a paper recently published in the Journal of Science describes a new technique for determining when sunspots will form a day or two before they appear on the sun's surface. Stantis Alandis, doctoral student at Stanford's physics department and lead author of the paper, said, when sunspots bubble up from inside the sun, they disrupt sound waves that are produced by shifting plasma, a form of superheated gas at the sun's surface. Sunspots are associated with solar flare explosions of charged particles called coronal mass ejections. We heard about this before. The sun's solar flare cycles run from high to low over an 11-year period. We got the numbers we talk about, 9 and 11. If we speed up this cycle to 11 cycles per second, we find that one of the harmonics of 11 is 4-3-2. The musical connection between the sunspot cycle and the rhythm of the heart indicates that while the sun's song may not be acoustically influencing the solar system, it does translate to a rhythm of coronal mass ejection that affects Earth and other planets. For example, researchers have noticed a correlation between sunspot activity and planetary alignments of Saturn and Jupiter. Solar maximum, the peak of the sunspot cycle, is correlated with the conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter, and the solar minimums, which are the low points of the sunspot cycle, when the planets are in opposition. The question is whether the orbits of the two planets are keeping time to the song of the sun, or do their orbits affect the cycles of the sun and its interior harmonies, as some researchers suggest. It's going to make sense in a second. If the sun is the conductor of the solar system orchestra, we would expect Earth to also be in tune with the sun's song. Scientists, particularly those who study earthquakes, once thought that the Earth's long period acoustic waves or free oscillations occurred as the result of large earthquakes. However, it is now known that the Earth freely oscillates even in seismically inactive periods. The Earth's background free oscillations are known as Earth's hum. The source of the free oscillations of Earth has been a long-standing mystery. Researchers have speculated that the Earth's hum is a result of ocean waves colliding with the seafloor. Russian researchers discovered that global seismic activity, which undergoes a modulation period of 54 minutes, 5 and 4, 9, may in fact be induced by the Earth's free oscillations. A frequency modulation of every 54 minutes is once every 3,240 seconds, that'll give you 9, or 308.66 cycles per second, that'll give you 9 as well, and is harmonically related to 432 cycles per second. The harmonic connection of 432 cycles per second from the sun's song suggests that the Earth's hum is most likely coming from atmospheric disturbances caused by the sun. Satellite observations have revealed a rhythmic expansion and contraction of Earth's atmosphere on a 9-day cycle. NASA and University of Colorado Boulder scientists said this 9-day sun-induced breathing cycles of Earth's atmosphere corresponds to changes in the sun's magnetic fields as it completes rotations once every 27 days. 2 and 7 give you 9. 27 is harmonically related to 432. Sunspots, when directing plasma away from the sun as solar flares and towards Earth, heat up the upper atmosphere, causing the outer atmosphere to expand and contract. These findings emphasize how solar activity impacts Earth rhythmically. The beat of once per every 9 days is harmonically in sync with 432 and the heart. Your heart, people. Remember, we started this whole thing off talking about the human heart rate of 432, 4,320 beats per hour. When we look at the harmonic chart above, figure 1, we find that the 6th harmonic is 864, which give you 9, which, 6 to 4 is 10, 8, 18, 1 and 8, 9. By coincidence, the diameter of the sun is 864,000 miles. The reason the sun's diameter is related to 864 is because the definition of the mile is 5,280 feet. When you keep breaking that down by multiplication, you'll end up with 144, which 144 give you 9. The number 528, when treated as a musical note, contains the harmonic of 7,920, which 9 and 2 will give you 11 plus 7, 18. 1 and 8 gives you 9, which happens to be the diameter of Earth. The other numbers we have examined: 954, which 5 and 4 give you 9, 72, which that'll give you 9 as well, and 144 also share the harmonic of 7,920, the frequency of the 528, which when you start multiplying 5 and 8, 52 times 8 until you get to 144 again, you'll get 9. And terahertz, or trillions of cycles per second, is related to the color green. As we just got finished talking about, green is the result of the sun's photosynthesis in plants, which helps explain why alchemical symbols for transformation and personal growth often contains the color green. The song of the sun appears to be connected to the music of the spheres after all. What was once believed to be a silly idea from a distant and naive civilization is turning out to be the fundamental vibration of the universe. Quantum physics, and it's cool they said this, quantum physics is catching up with the knowledge of our ancestors, with their suggestion that all matter is in some way connected to a greater field of interconnected consciousness. I like to think of it as heart consciousness keeping time to the cosmic song. So now trust me, this is not something new that they just figured out. The ancients already understood this. This is something that was already known. One, when you understand everything we just said, and then you go back and look at the fact that the pyramids was already in sync with the sun. It was in sync with our hearts as well. Talked about this in a previous video. Forget which DVD that was. But we talked about with Tesla. Remember, Tesla went to Egypt, and he was one of the ones who helped put this whole thing together, which was the whole, design for his model he wanted to build to give us wireless electricity. He understood that the Egyptians figured it out already. He noted that. So he also discovered that, it was a hum coming from the pyramids. I've been there myself. The hum is there, and it can be measured, which you have people out there actually measuring it. You can measure the hum, one, and it is at a frequency of 432 with one pyramid. You have 528 with 432 with Khufu, 528 with Khafre, and Menkarup has the 144. So there you go. Boom. You have 999. It is there right at the pyramids. And he also expressed how you have with the pyramids, how, when it was complete, how they played a frequency. It didn't only generate, negative ions and wireless energy or what have you. It wasn't just that. It also emitted a frequency that resonated with the human heart, which makes sense since it's dealing with the brain and the heart. Remember, I talked about how the Great Pyramid is the brain and that whole process, but it also emitted a frequency for the heart, because we know the heart and the brain is connected. So I talked about that. You use your heart basically to send more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. Plain and simple, but they are connected. So when you see that and you understand that, and you look at the fact that all of this esoterically, as far as with sacred math, sacred science, all goes together with the building of the Great Pyramid and everything that entails, with the speed of light and everything that's calculated within it. It's so much. It's so deep. So when you're looking at just, Giza, and everything that's there is a big message that's there, as a couple people got into, to understand that they're giving you space as well as the body and so much more. So again, just the sun, understanding how it was revered and why it is considered to be so powerful, and how harmonically we have this relation with the heart to the sun. Now, it also goes on to say here, in scalar heart connection, the frequency of 144 cycles per second is harmonically related to the note of A in Pythagorean tuning of 432 cycles per second. Gives you the chart here. It's the chart they was talking about with the figure 1. The frequency of 432 cycles per second is synchronized and harmonically related to the rhythm of the human heart, which beats at 4,320 times per hour, 72 beats per minute. The beating heart is also connected to larger cycles of time. The retrograde cycle of the stars moves at a rate of 1 degree every 72 years. That'll give you 9. This cycle goes full circle every 25,920, which 25, 2 and 5 will give you 7, 9 and 2 will give you 11, 7 and 11 will give you 18, 1 and 8 will give you 9, of course, which is 432 times 60. The number 432 is related to an even larger cosmological time frame according to mythology and the Sanskrit scriptures that describe the Kali Yuga cycle of time to be 432,000 years, which again, that'll give you 9. And we're going to get more into the whole yogi stuff because they got into this whole thing with the sun and that whole understanding of the relationship between the sun and the heart and, just the power of the sun itself and how it is responsible for us being here and how it's so many things that we can do to really connect more with the sun. And that's the thing. So I always like to tell black folks, don't be running from that sun. Make sure you get out there and you soak up some of that sun's energy, and you get at least 15 minutes in that sun every day. It's not hard. You get out there, especially during the summertime when you can get as much nutrients from it as possible. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of black men is getting prostate cancer, because we are not in that sun. A simple 15 minutes, 20 minutes a day in that sun, letting that sunlight hit your skin, can keep you from getting colon cancer, keep you from getting freaking prostate cancer, having cancer, period, if we just be in that sun. And you got to understand that. It's one of the reasons why, I hate London. I hate it. Every time I go to London, it's never no damn sun. Yeah, pay attention to that. A lot of people don't. It's just rarely you get nice sunny days in London. I hated that. But, the sun and the nutrients we get from it and so much more that we get from it is important for us to know and to understand, especially as melanated beings, people. Plain and simple, and I had a lot of people, ask questions about, the sun, and a lot of people was really into the whole sun worship as actually literally worshiping the sun. And, I wanted to put this out again to really get people to understand that it's not even about that worship of the sun, but understanding what it is. And when you understand it, you can understand you a lot more, because you are it. You are the sun itself as well, but in a physical form and put in this material, spiritual, body. It's a lot more that you can do, a lot more that we can, use, our physical body to grow and to learn a lot more because of the sun. So it's definitely something people need to really understand and be excited about. And the fact that, we have this sun in us, we have this power in us, and we are really unique on this planet is one of the reasons how we know everything that's going on is something that is, intelligent. This is an intelligent system that we live in, an intelligent planet, and that, we can't look at it as a coincidence of a big bang or, just this whole, normal cycle of, space that's supposed to happen to give us creation itself. This is intelligence, people. Intelligence, however you want to slice it, and it cannot be ignored. And we got to stop looking to a lot of the stuff that we look to get the answers of who we are when it is right above us. So they did this research, and like I said, you have this connection with the sun. And same as the Bluetooth, same as Wi-Fi, this wireless connection, of course, with the sun and our heart. And it makes sense when you understand the electromagnetic properties that the heart emits and the connection of it with the earth, and, the fact that we have, all this energy and these electromagnetic fields everywhere. Of course, our heart would in some way interact with it. And it's not a coincidence. So it's not, far-fetched or hard to believe when you think about it. But, they've done this research and they looked at the whole thing and looked at the whole geomagnetic relationship that we have. And when you look at the fact that the sun, there's solar winds, there's storms, there's so much going on out there, supposedly, according to them, is during this time do we have a fluctuation or a different action of our heart around this time. And they did the research on that, and that's the case. So it says here, And this is space weather hazards and their impact on human cardio health state parameters on Earth. And it says here, an abstract. Recent multidisciplinary heliobiological that is sun biology. When you think about it, helio is sun. And biometeorological researchers reveal that the human organism is sensitive to environmental physical activity changes and reacts to them through variations of the physiological parameters of the human body. In this study, electrocardiograms of functionally healthy persons who are digitally registered as the laboratories of heliobiology located in the medical center INAM were studied in relation to different levels of cosmic ray activity and geomagnetic field disturbances. In total, 1,673 daily digital data of heart rate values and time series of beat-to-beat heart rate intervals were registered for the time period July 15, 2006 to March 31st, 2008, which includes the period of December 2006 when intense cosmic ray events and strong geomagnetic disturbances occurred. The statistical significance of the influence of geomagnetic activity levels and cosmic ray intensity variations on the heart rate and R&R intervals was estimated. Results revealed that heart rate increase and R&R intervals variations were more pronounced, meaning they stuck out more for high levels of geomagnetic activity and large cosmic ray intensity decreases, whereas very small or even minimal cosmic ray intensities variations did not affect heart rate dynamics. Moreover, heart rate increased on the days before, during, and after geomagnetic storms with high intensities, and on the days preceding and following, cosmic ray intensities decreased. So basically, when they was doing these studies, they seen that when the storms was getting ready to come, these geomagnetic storms, you had an increasing of the heart rate before, during, and after. And then with the cosmic rays, same thing, except for after it decreased. So you have a direct connection to the geomagnetic storms in space and our heart. Plain and simple. This is something that is easy to understand when you understand, one, how synchronized with the Earth's electromagnetic field. You have birds who basically have that synchronicity. One of the reasons how they know how to fly south or what have you. And if it increases or something changes with it, it can basically, birds will be dropping from the sky. It's the same thing with the turtles. Remember I talked about, with the loggerhead turtles, on how they know how to get back to where they was born. They travel from wherever they from to go back to where they was born to basically lay their eggs. And it's supposed to be the reason how they do it, or the way they do it, is supposed to be how they interact or connect with the Earth's electromagnetic field. So again, we can look at this in nature. We can look at this in so many different instances and see that there is a connection. And the fact that our hearts is directly connected to solar activity, to the sun itself, is something amazing. And it gets you in that whole understanding of why the sun was so revered, and why everywhere we look, we see the sun worship, or the sun being deified, or the sun being put in some kind of context as a god. And it really deals with us in so many different ways. I'm really curious to see, and it's one of the things I did see, in Kemet when I went. You see it everywhere. You see solar stuff all over the place, things dealing with the sun all over the place, and it's a major thing. And a lot of the stuff that the ancient Egyptians did, when you now understand that, one of the things I be telling the religious people, the Christians, that we're not worshiping this stuff. This is stuff that deals with the human body. Plain and simple, people. They was giving it to us, and I believe they was giving it to us because we somehow lost that direct connection with this stuff and the knowledge of how to directly connect with it. So we're not directly connecting. We don't have that control of the heart, tapping into the Earth's energy or the sun's energy. We don't have it. We can't do it no more. So it's like they were mapping out all of these connections that the body can have with different things in nature and in space. and trying to show the people or try to put it out there as to how to somehow make these connections, once again. So again, the ancient Egyptians understood this. This knowledge was passed down. Our conquerors had it. Many different civilizations around the world understood this about the sun and how it relates to us. And that, the sun, it was important, of course. And, when you get into everything, because you have to look at it a lot. And as I said before, the sun is God. And we have to look at it as, when religion and the Bible is talking about the sun waking us up, talked about this before, it's literal. I mean, plain and simple. God woke me up in the morning. God woke me up. The sun, as I talked about, how the first light that hits your eyelid basically activates the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which will in turn release or decrease melatonin from the blood or in the blood. So, that first light, hits your eyelids, you begin the waking up process, all the hormones begin to wake up, and you literally wake up because of the sun itself. So it says here, for those who might have missed it, the suprachiasmatic nucleus sends signals to other parts of the brain and controls hormones and body temperature. Then signals travel from the brain down the spinal cord and back up to the pineal gland, a small pinecone-shaped organ in the brain where melatonin production takes place. During the day, such signals prevent the pineal gland from producing melatonin. But when it is dark outside, these signals are not activated and the pineal gland is able to produce melatonin. In other words, exposure to light prevents melatonin release, which keeps us awake, and lack of exposure to light causes melatonin to release, which tells us to go to sleep. Makes sense right there. And it really gets you into that whole thought process of understanding how there's supposed to be this natural connection to the sun. Plain and simple. And this is why we look at, Europeans, white people as the way they are. They have opposition, problem with the sun. We connect with the sun naturally. We don't have a problem producing melatonin. They do. We don't have a problem absorbing the sun's rays. They do. Plain and simple. So as I talked about before, this is the whole thing that they get into with, vampires. They can't be in the sun. They pale, white skin. Tell you something right there. Who they're trying to tell you who they are. It's the same thing in the Bible. Them trying to tell you who they are. Satan in opposition to God, which would be what? The sun. Plain and simple. They're in opposition to that. They don't have a natural connection with it on a natural level, nature-wise. Again, stuff is ancient. Stuff that many ancient civilizations talked about for a long period of time, until the ancient gods, as I talked about in Buddhism, the ancient gods, which was depicted as black, at some point was done away with. Gods that we understand, gods that had these meanings that basically related to the human body, to nature itself. These guys was done away with and enter all the bullshit guys. The guys you got to have faith in and believe in with absolutely no proof, who just happen to be white. Got your white Jesus and your white Buddha now. Get rid of black Buddha. And all this stuff start coming in, and the real guys that correspond with actual things in space and nature, what have you, was done away with. And we had to deal with this stuff. But, if you go and really start researching the yogis and, the ancient Egyptians, we know, they talked about this stuff. And I said, I would get to the yogis. So now the yogis is talking about, pranic healing. And, that this is something, you're going to find. They talk about in yoga sometimes, but the yogis are really deep. And if you just simply got into this, you would understood the connection with the heart and the sun, because it's something that they deal with a lot in the whole thing. So it says here, pranic healing technique. Go down here. The technique of pranic healing connects the solar heart of the individual and the giver of this life energy to our planet, the sun. This is the spiritual absorption of pranic healing light through the act of submerging oneself in the cosmic current that sustains the whole of creation. From the astral body, the entire network of subtle nanites of nerves and the physical nerves are fed with luminosity of pranic light. Prana is described as the breath of life, or life force energy, a subtle element or entity underlying the fabric of all of creation, animating sentient beings with consciousness and life. It is the vibratory power that sustains us throughout the cycles of reincarnation, imparting life to all the different bodies we incarnate in. Think about that. It is our soul potential expressed in the human being as one's individual vitality, knowledge of this majestic undercurrent, and the science of channeling its awesome power for pranic healing and advancement along the evolutionary path to enlightenment is the most cherished undertaking, unlocking the inner mysteries of soul and divinity. Prana is life, and pranayama is the yogic extension or control of the living impulse animating every atom of our universe. Prana is conveyed to our planet from the light of the sun and congealed in material form. Thus, for our planetary system, the sun is the source of prana. Likewise, in the course of pranic healing, prana may be most effectively availed of through the rays of our sun, since the highest concentrations of prana are found in sunlight. Prana is the life of oxygen. However, this life force is more subtle than oxygen, just as photosynthesis occurs in plants. A bioluminescence occurs in our bodies through the focused absorption of sunlight, whereby we inhale and ingest the salubrious rays, which salubrious means healthy, salubrious rays of the sun through the medulla oblongata, called the mouth of God, and the third eye of Shiva, thereby rejuvenating ourselves. Pranic healing with solar power is a purifying and rejuvenating practice in nature. It may be used both for self-healing and for radiating healing energy to others. When you absorb the radiant energy of the spiritual sun, all toxins of the system are flushed out. Every cell in the body is permeated with life-giving prana, and life force is the energy that pervades the universe in all levels. All vibrating energies are prana. All physical energies such as heat, light, gravity, magnetism, and electricity are also prana. It is the hidden or potential energy in all beings. Deep-rooted syndromes and negative patterns of behavior surface during the practice of solar pranayama. Prana works in a higher way, seeping into all mental blocks and tensions trapped in one's muscles, illuminating the entire system in a manner unknown to modern psychology and mainstream modern health. The positive effect of Surya Kavach, the protective sun shield, and Shashwan Jwala, breath of life, pranayama, are self-evident. These helpful patterns of breathing increase your memory recall, enhance concentration, and build stamina, the will to achieve one's goal, and the courage to cope with the rough and tumble of daily life, are the blessings of the radiant life-giving sun. So, there you have it. And understanding, one, you're not just going to find this type of talk, not just in India, but it's the same thing in every culture that you go to that's ancient. They talking about the sun and the the properties that the sun have, and it's so much of that is hidden and not told to us in day to day as far as what the sun can do for you. So you have this practice in a lot of civilizations where you have these exercises dealing with the sun. You have these things that are done with the sun connection, and you can understand why we are not told that a lot, and while a lot of white folks don't know about it because they don't really want them out there in the sun doing all these things and this whole yoga and this yogi rituals or what have you. They don't want them out there doing that because it's going to basically kill them, and it's probably one of the reasons why the number one cause of death for white people is melanoma, because a lot of these white folks are out there trying to be spiritual. They're trying to get into a lot of this information and do these things because they don't really understand this connection or lack of connection that they have with the physical sun, and how it can be harmful. We hear about this stuff and nobody seems to ask the question, how come this doesn't affect black folks? If you conscious as a white person and you make that connection of the sun being Jesus or God and the power of the sun and everything we just talked about in this video so far, and then you look at the connection it has with Europeans, it's something you got to think about, something you got to look at and say, why is that? What is wrong? Why don't we have this same connections as African people. And it's one of the ways how I know, white folks who are conscious understand that, they are different. And it's something more unique to us and more powerful to us to why we have this really good connection with the sun. And, it's amazing, but a lot of people have no clue. A lot of people don't really get into the research. A lot of people take the sun for granted, and it's just there. It's been there since you've been born. Been there before you was born, will be here when you're gone. And a lot of people, just take it for granted. They don't really get it. They don't really want to dig into it. But, you have a lot of people, when they look at this whole notion that we bring up of Jesus being the Son, they want to know how. They want to know what's up with that whole connection, how it really relates to us, and why would they do that. And that's the thing. A lot of people, they're not going to really be able to get it. And a lot of you guys, one of the troubles you'll have is trying to really express that to them of why that connection is made. So I had a lot of people ask me questions of, how do we explain and express the Son being Jesus? How does that go? You can go with the whole zeitgeist thing, as I talked about. And, the whole thing with the equinox and, the whole winter solstice, thing, and the sun resting for 3 days and all that stuff, and, apply that with the zodiac and everything. You can do all that with the sun. The sun on the cross of the zodiac, the sun in the procession of the equinox, or the sun in the winter solstice. And you can get a lot of information out of that, but that's everywhere. This stuff that you just picked up and learned, you're just not going to find. You're not going to see it everywhere. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to put this information out there. There is not people out there talking about this direct connection that our heart has with the sun. They didn't teach you that in school. They're not talking about that stuff because then you will have to ask the question, well, what about God? If this, life is relying on the sun in the sky, what about God? It seems as if the sun put the life force in the plants and everything else. And then you begin to understand what has taken place and what they have effectively done with the existence of this whole Jesus Christ character and everything else. So we look at the sun and everything we discussed and understanding, the power of it. And I know a lot of people is going to want to really give credit to the all-powerful God. People always want to go back to the Creator, and we have to understand, as far as physical creation itself, we need the sun for that. Plain and simple. We can understand about consciousness creating the energy and the elements and the material that's going to give us human life, but we're not dealing with the spiritual. We're not dealing outside of energy. We're not dealing in consciousness. We are in a physical material world. So if we're talking about as far as the material, our existence in its physical form, it goes to the sun. Plain and simple. It goes to the sun. And we can go a step above that, of course, and go to consciousness. Even when you go into the ancient Egyptian creation story and look at the fact that, one, remember, you had Nu, the waters of Nu, the dark abyss, nothingness before the sun. You had Atum, who basically created himself from his thoughts, consciousness, existing before Ra, the sun. So even the Egyptians, giving us consciousness itself being before, the sun, before physical, which that is a whole another level of thinking and thought processing that we can't even comprehend on a physical level. So again, you look at this big world, this big worldwide, this big universe, I should say. And the fact that, as I said, we only can see this little slither, and the rest we have this whole big, dark matter, dark energy, and it makes up, the rest of the universe. And there are connections and things and energy and power that we do not understand. There are supposedly multiple dimensions, many dimensions in which so many different things could be happening. So we are just a small part of, a whole of a huge existence that we really don't understand. And to stay stuck in this existence, in this cycle of reincarnation, is hell. It's hell. It is the worst thing you could possibly be in when you understand that there's this vast universe of power and everything we could possibly want is, a thought away. And to have the ability to eventually be able to tap into that and to not be subjected to material and men's will and the evils and ills of the physical material world is heaven. It's just that simple. And that's what the Bible is trying to give you and get you to understand, that there's a lot more out there, far reaching, far more than a physical material world, and that there's an energy, a power that exists that can transcend all that and take us to another level, another form of existence that is, beyond our comprehension. That's what it's about. To be in a thought process of, fuck it, I don't care. Whatever happens, happens. The most tragic thing you can do. And like I said, I don't care how much money they have or who they are. I would not want to be anybody else on this planet but me. Plain and simple. Just because of what I know. And I didn't have to sell out. I didn't have to, so-called sell my soul or what have you. I was able to become rich and be successful from knowledge, from just understanding and kicking truth, my odds, and still was able to generate wealth and still was able to generate this knowledge and be in a position to hopefully transcend this physical material world. This is what I want for you. This is what I want for everybody else that watch, that participates, and is really trying to understand what it's all about and does not want to reincarnate back in another body to go through all this shit again. I mean, it's just crazy. It's madness. And that's what's going to happen to most of the people watching and to almost everybody here. It's one of the reasons why the Bible say not everybody's going to make it. And that's what it means. So if heaven is exactly that, the consciousness, the energy with the power to create whatever you want, whatever scenario, whatever situation, whatever world, whatever bliss, what you conceive as your heaven, if that's what it's about, that's exactly what you should want. That's what you should be going for. And a lot of people are not, because they are caught up in the hell of the material. So they're really not trying to hide it too much. I mean, look at the Catholic Church. See it clear as day. Sun worship. They don't put it out there as that. But look at what they're using. Look at what they're showing you the sun. Clear as day. The Pope does it all the time. And the Pope does it in both senses, as far as giving you the sun, Christianity, the Christian God, and giving you the moon, Islam. They control both. Plain and simple. Well, you can see it clear as day when you look at the Catholic Church and look at everything, all the sun worship that is there. I mean, it is just clear as day right in front of our faces. And it's just so funny to me, man. I look at these people and they're so serious and they know damn well what they're doing is bullshit. And it's the sun in the sky. So they're going to be able to eventually come out in the future and break these parables down, which is something I think they're going to do in the far distant future. Once they have their new world order, what have you, they'll be able to say, well, it all was metaphorical, but you can see we wasn't really lying, because they're going to be able to show you, as I said before, in the Bible, how they are actually talking about the sun and how Jesus is telling you, hey, it's a parable because, hey, he's the sun and all that. And people are going to be like, oh, and it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter that they lied and that the generations that grew up and was so fixated on all this will be gone. Nobody's going to be around to be mad or pissed off. The people in the future generations, our children's children or what have you, they're going to get it. They're going to understand it. They're going to be like, okay, well, we see why they can do that, why they did that. We're going to be long gone. And the future generation is not going to have any anger towards the revealing of this, because it's going to be, too late. They'll have their Illuminati or the New World Order or what have you, and that'll be that. So you got to look at the stuff and understand what it's about and what it all goes towards. And the sun is right there, clear as day. Now, the other connection to all this, which we didn't get into, but we will in another video, the dragon. It's a connection. And it's huge, and it's a reason why they go hand in hand. And I talked about this before in a couple of videos. Some of you will be able to put it together, some will not. But it's a big connection, and we got to get there. And that's the one thing that is missing. That's the thing that is there that's like, where does this dragon fit? It has to do with the sun. There's a lot more to it. It has to do with us. As I said, cannot ignore it. We can't just pass it off as non-existent when we see so much information that it did exist. And again, you have to ask yourself why, the deception. If you've seen videos on the whole dinosaur deception, it's a reason why. Those guys are right in a lot of capacities, but you got to understand the why. And that would be the question you would also ask yourself. Why would they fake dinosaurs? Come on. What would be the purpose of faking dinosaurs? You can't put, fossils in the ground, before the 1800s. Like, they've been finding dinosaur bones for a long time. Ancient civilizations talk of dinosaurs, so we know they existed. But as I said, they existed as dragons. That's what they was. The lies of the dinosaurs, the things that people are uncovering about the dinosaurs, have to do with the fact that they do not want us to see dinosaurs as dragons. They want us to see dinosaurs the way they want us to see dinosaurs, which is the whole purpose behind a reconstruction of these dinosaurs. Plain and simple. Now, when you see these skeletons and they put them together, a lot of that stuff is fabricated because they don't want people to see the serpent dragons the way that they show you in China. Or when you look at the depictions of dragons, when you look at them, they're serpent dragons. They have 4 legs. They look as serpents. They look just like them. And we see this whole, variety of paintings and pictures, depictions of men killing dragons. What is that about? Think about that. It's a lot to all that. A lot that people are not seeing. Men killing. Not a coincidence. Why? You had the story of the knights and the dragons. Why all this story? Why all this mythology about the dragons? Why did they wipe them all out? What was the point to them? What was they really here for? So you got to look at it. And in a lot of depictions, you see them as small dragons. As I talked about with the Garden of Eden story, the serpent couldn't have been a serpent. God says, I curse you on your belly. Now, if he was a snake, then he's already on his belly. So how is he going to be cursed on his belly when if it was a snake in the garden, it was already on his belly? It had to be a serpent dragon with the legs, the claws, what have you. And now it's cursed on his belly, meaning we're going to wipe you all out. And the only serpent reptilian of your variety, of your species, would be on his belly, meaning of his variety or species would be like a serpent, not without the arm. So you got to look deeper into this stuff and see what it's talking about. And there's a lot to it that's pertaining to the sun, which I'll get into when I do another video on these dragons, because there's just a lot more to it. And I'm connected with this sun and us, of course. It's a lot to it. It's deep and we can't ignore it. It's a lot going on that, it makes everything look stupid. And I'm conscious. A lot of you are as well. I see past the entertainment stuff and everything that's going on. Yeah, I like my sports or what have you, because I make money from it. But I look past all that, man. All this stuff is just like, because there's so much more out there to discover and to understand and to help you towards your, transition from this, physical life to the next. And if you don't understand the importance of that and how they're trying to trick you and get you to be content and loving of this material world so that you don't give a shit about your spiritual self and where you're going when you die, this is something you're going to be terribly, horrifyingly worried about when you get older. Guarantee you that. You're getting close to that death, you're going to wish, especially them, they're going to wish they had some kind of knowledge or understanding of what's going to happen when they die. Don't be haunted by that. Don't be haunted by that kind of feeling. You get what I'm saying? No. You've done enough. You've put enough information into your consciousness. You've done enough physically and spiritually to ensure that your consciousness will take the next step and be able to transcend this physical world and escape the wheel of reincarnation. So now again, the biggest mystery, the thing that Jesus is telling you about when you pay attention and you look, as I said, Jesus is the sun. Jesus, God, the light of the world, walks on water, all that stuff pertaining to the sun, because it's trying to tell you clear as day, Jesus is the sun. And I'm telling you that you are Jesus. And, so many ways we can look at this. First of all, when you look at, just everything that entails with Jesus, I've talked about this before with the 33 and all that kind of stuff. But look at the depictions. You've seen this before. It's given to you clear as day, as I just said. Our sun connected with our hearts. There is our Son in our heart right here. Plain and simple. It's giving it to you right in front of your face, clear as day. Jesus is the Son. Here's our hearts. What did it tell you to do? To accept Jesus Christ into your heart as your Lord and Savior. Open your heart to Jesus. So many depictions, so many passages, so many preachers talking about the same stuff. Jesus in your heart. You got to let Jesus in your heart. As so many fake ass Christians, say this to me before. You don't have Jesus in your heart. Yes, I do. My heart is Jesus. So is yours. But they don't get it. They don't understand. Then, when you go and look at it in the Bible, they give it to you. So when you read, this is John 19:34. But one of the soldiers with a spear pierced his side, and forthwith came there out blood and water. The Son creates water. The Son is responsible for your life. Now, they're giving you the understanding, one, that when that soldier stabbed Jesus in the side, in the rib, or what have you, that it pierced his heart, which is the reason for the water release. So when you read here, it says a legionnaire drove his lance through the fifth interspace between the rib, upward through the pericardium and into the heart. There was water fluid from the sac surrounding the heart. Jesus died from heart failure due to shock and constriction of the heart by fluid in the pericardium, not from the usual crucifixion death by suffocation. But it's also, it's giving you that clear as day. The heart, Jesus, the Son, same stuff. But it's also giving it to you in the verse itself. So John 19:34. So when you multiply 19 times 34, you'll get 646, right? So you do 6 times 4, which will give you 24. 24 times 6 will give you 144. 1 plus 4 plus 4 will give you 9. Plain and simple. Right there. Giving it to you in the verse, giving it to you in the passage, giving it to you in Jesus itself. It's the Son. It's your heart. One and the same. When you understand the parable of it and, the metaphor, how it's trying to give you that connection of your heart and the Son. It's deep stuff. It's a lot more to it, but I wanted to touch on this briefly in this video to get you up to speed and prepare for, more videos that we're going to get into this stuff. So I talked about it in the video, about women, about the DVDs or what have you, as far as the biblical series. And now watching this, you can understand, I'm going to be putting out videos that's going to kind of correspond with the Bible. And, you have people ask, and I don't understand why people, as I said, express to me that they're not going to buy the Bible series until it's complete. And as I said, it's 66 videos, and there's going to be a lot of videos in between. And if you're going to wait to buy all 66 at one time, I guarantee it's going to be over $1,000 or close to $1,000. So, and not just that, you're going to be behind because there's going to be other videos that's going to go in between that. So I really recommend that people get the videos as they come out, because I put them out in an order for a reason. But I understand that's what it is, but I recommend you definitely watch it in order, so when other videos come out, you won't be behind and you will understand where we are at. So I'm happy to say it's a lot of people watching, a lot of people involved, a lot of people that I've been talking to about the videos, professors. I'm bullshit you not, professors, doctors, scientists, so many people that I have met and doing this over the years, and it's been amazing. And I've been getting a lot of information, a lot of insight into things from a lot of friends who in professional fields that just relay information to me. I talked about it, I have Masonic friends, and we get into a lot of information, a lot of talking, but it's something to learning, and I hope people really appreciate the power that you get in learning new things and having a new understanding and outlook for your consciousness to deal with. I mean, it's just amazing, and it's just, you lucky. I'm serious. You're lucky to be you and be in a mindset of becoming conscious and trying to understand what's going on, and not being so blindsided by the world and everything that's happening. So you be thankful that you found this, like that you have information, even if it's not from me, no matter where you're getting it from, that you are becoming conscious and getting a higher understanding of existence itself and you, which is the main key. You, what you are trying to do in this incarnation, and what your purpose really is, as you know, you go on your journey as becoming a higher being, transcending this physical. As I said, it's like a drug. That's exactly what it is. It's a drug. And you constantly give a person what they want, something that's going to make them addicted, addicted, then, I mean, that's what they're going to seek after. And it's just that simple. So people are seeking after life, experiences, girls, cars, money, what have you. And, you know, it's one of those things that's going to bite you in the ass later on. But people are enjoying what they're into so much that they don't care. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. You know, and that's how people think. You know, some people, homeless people, I've seen crackheads, they'll take the beat down. They'll steal your shit and let you know they stole it because they don't care about the beat down. They care about having their money to go get their next fix. So, you know, it's all a big drug. And we got to look at everything that they're giving us to affect our heart, affect our mind, stuff they put in the food. You know, as I said, the number one cause of death on the planet is, you know, heart disease. Plain and simple. This is what they're attacking. They're attacking your heart. Stuff that's going to cause you to become overweight. Food that's going to give you heart disease. If you live in the hood, trust me, stay away from the Chinese store. Don't eat that shit. I'm serious. These people are here to cause heart disease in the lives and bodies of African American people. That's their purpose. That's what people do. You know, people use that excuse as I'm poor, I don't have money, but it's really they poor and they don't have knowledge. And, you know, if you understood, one, that the means that you have and, you know, you can still get good food that's not so bad, but the food that you eat and the stuff that you put in your body is really going to affect your heart. And that's how they're getting us out of here. You know, that's the main reason, the main cause of death. They want to attack the heart, they want to attack the mind, and they want us out of here with, you know, no understanding of anything, you know, just to keep the cycle going, plain and simple. And it's crazy. So yeah, definitely leave that stuff alone and really understand, you know, what's happening, what's going on. A lot of people just act like ain't nothing going on, like everything is the way it's supposed to be, that it's not an agenda out there to destroy us. Some people call it crazy, call it conspiracy theory, what have you. I mean, it's clear as day. And deep down, people know, you know, you can see it. And I tell people to just pay attention at just history and everything that's going on. It's clear as day that they're trying to get us out of here, that we are below them. And it's not in a sense, as some black people think, oh, it's just about money. They want us to be below them because they want to have all the money. They want to have all the power. That's true, but it's deeper than that. It's a lot deeper than that. And even still, in any way you want to put it, it's harmful to us as a people to deal with the way they're treating us and to have to live and survive in this system and the way things are. So we got to make changes in ourselves and our children. And if we do that and we're conscious as individuals, you know, so on and so forth, things will get better, you know. As I said in the last video, I'm just putting out information. I'm not in the business of trying to change people's minds so much anymore. I think the people who are conscious and people who really want to get the information will get it, and they will act accordingly. And those who bullshitting with it gonna bullshit with it. It's so much not even about money. And it's a shame that I got to deal with this from my own people. Everybody think it's all about money and everything, is not understanding that everything that goes into putting together these videos and stuff that I put out on YouTube. And I'm so past that. Like, it's not even about that. It's, you know, it's what it takes to get the production done, to get things done. It's not even about no money at all. As I said, I was already rich before I started YouTube, so it's not about that. And I've started to put more time into doing this because, you know, the emails I get, you know, the messages I get from a lot of people from all over the world, and I see the impact that, you know, information like this has in changing people's lives, especially when people send you pictures of their family and video. I get video clips from people of them watching the video and what they've learned and kids and everything. I mean, that's huge. That's a big responsibility. And I feel that, and I accept it. And as long as I'm helping people wake up and use this information to change their life and their kids' life, I'm going to keep doing it. So it's a good thing. But I really appreciate you guys taking time to watch and support. This video is definitely going to make a lot more sense to people who have watched all the videos. And like I said, I put things differently than anybody else that's doing this. So you get, how I explain information and stuff I talk about. So this is just line up with everything else. But it's important to know this stuff, as you can understand. That's a big deal to understand about the sun and how it affects us and our, real relationship with it. So it's a big deal, and it's just one of the, things that's helping us get one step closer to understanding a lot. We'll never understand it all, but we'll understand enough to basically move on, and that's what it's all about. So I want to thank you guys again for taking the time to support, to watch, to support and everything. And it's a lot of videos I just put out with 3 books on the Bible series and now this, but I wanted to really start getting videos out more. I have been absent from YouTube a lot. Just try to get more YouTube videos up. As I said, there's a lot still going on in my life, and a lot of business things I'm working on, the website as well. So I'm doing a lot, as I always say, but I'm going to make time to put this stuff out. And I really appreciate the support. So thank you guys again for purchasing and supporting, and see you next video.